All right, so we're starting Android today. What I would like you to both do is to go out to developer.android.com/studio. Hopefully when you do it looks like what you see on the screen here. Now, it should say on yours, you should see the download button, and it should have already figured out if you're 32 or 64. You're probably both 64 anyway. So just click download at Android Studio. And I've got it here on paper too. I just want to make sure we don't miss any steps, but I don't think we will. So we've got download on Android Studio. Yeah. It says this one's a little old, so yeah, we've read everything. Sure we have. So click the download Android Studio button. It'll come up in here if you've got Chrome, and it might come up someplace else if you're using something else. And according to this, it is 897 meg, so it's not as big a pig as some software is, but it's not small either. So, it's pretty close to a gig. They also recommend that when you use this, you have 2 to 4 gig of space free on your machine. Because, I mean, especially when you run the emulator, it can just sit there otherwise and it can hang, just so you're aware of that. All right. And I'm going to right mouse click on this and say to open when done. Again, I realize ours are going at different speeds, so I'm not seeing, other than I want you to be able to download yours. we're not seeing how fast we can do this. But mine says 10 seconds. Yours might say quite a bit more time than that. Okay. What's that?
I'm at 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. What are you at?
5 minutes.
All right. Well, then why don't you just watch me for a second, because I think that this will work. Here it says opening when complete. So what are we going to do? Well, as it says, when it comes up, we're just going to click on the icon. And it should come up then and say, welcome to Android Studio Setup. We should be able to just take the default here. I would recommend just putting it, yours will be not probably the F drive, but whatever drive yours goes to by default. I'd recommend, again, just hitting next. When it comes up on here, this is the start folder. It says select the start folder menu. I'd recommend, again, just keeping that. Then on here, it'll come up and eventually it'll ask you to click next. It's just basically what it's doing is it's unpacking everything that it has, okay? Then once you get all that, you click finish. This is what you're going to see. This is the startup screen right here for Android Studio. And as it says, it'll appear on there and you'll click next. I would just do the standard install. So like I said, there's really no rocket science to this. When it comes up, it's going to ask you for a theme. I'm going to pick the light theme because I think it's easier for you guys to see. I don't care what you pick. It doesn't matter. I can't tell anyway. I can't see. I can sort of see your machine, but I don't look anyway. Click finish, and that's it. All right, you'll get a bunch of this stuff. But pretty much when we get started, this is what it's going to look like. Okay? All right, so let's see. There we are. So again, I'm going to click next. I'm just going to take what it has here. Next. Notice it says space required 2.7 gig because like I said, there's a lot of stuff on there. I'm going to take the default, which is my program files. Select the start menu folder. Android Studio looks good to me. So install. Now I'm sure mine will probably go faster than yours will, but it's not really a difficult install, as you can see. So, and it looks like already I've got the icon down here because that's it. That's what it'll look like. I have not installed it on this machine. It's never been on this machine before. So completed. Go to next. It's been installed on your computer. Start. So I'm going to click finish. See if it brings it up. Still doing some configuration. Import settings. I don't have any settings to import because it's never been used on this machine, so email Google. That's up to you. I'm not going to send them. I don't care. Next, and again, I'm going to choose the standard. The big difference between the standard and the custom is if you were already a user in here, you'd probably choose custom. There's a few things in there you really don't need. So you can probably knock it down from like 2.7 gig to about 2 gig. I don't know what all those are. And I'm not, I don't want to tell you to not have something and then need it later. So I'm just installing everything myself. So next, I'm going to, yeah, I don't want dark yellow. That's again your call. I'm going to keep light. Next. If you want to review or change, no, I'm not going to change anything. So finish. And again, did I say or do anything that you didn't get? All right. This might be slower on mine too. It's funny, I've talked to Evan already, and if he's doing this, let's say, or Paul is in their class, and they've got 30 people doing it, it'll be a lot slower. It'll really slow things down, on their network. But with only 2 or 3 of us, I don't think it's going to make a big dent in it. I can almost bet you there will be some things I want to tell you today that I'll forget to tell you. All right, not on purpose, but I just will. And in fact, while this is finishing up, I'm going to quick run back because I printed off a copy of Unit 1 and I got some notes that I wrote on it. So I'll be right back. We're not going to worry today about Git, but when we get to that point, you will still have to go into GitHub first and make your repo. All right, and then I'll show you probably on Monday. All right, so let's see. It's about halfway through. I did want to show you something. What I'm going to show you right now, you don't ever have to do this, but I just want to show you something, okay? I mentioned this to the class this morning, but I didn't even actually tell them it was out there. I don't know if you've ever gone out to YouTube and looked at my channel, but I just wanted to show you something about what's on there. All right. Now, about 3 or 4 years ago, I had a student come in here during the summer and ask me, what do you teach here? And we've got that one piece of paper that Evan created, and I've added a little bit to it that's got this stuff about all 4 of the classes. But I thought, that does show it, but I don't know how good that really is as far as explaining it to people. So I don't know what your thing would look like if you get out here, but if you're interested, I can send you the URL. But if I go out to playlists here and I start to look, now I got to find it because I got to remember what it's called. There, it's called BMI Programs Playlist. What I decided to do was I decided to write the BMI program in every language we have here. So what I did was I first wrote it in JavaScript, then I did it in jQuery, then I went in and did it in C# console, then I did a C# GUI, then I did it in ASP.NET because I'll have to redo it if I want to in Node, but I etc. And then I did it in Java, then I did it in Android. All right. This morning I started watching the Android ones. It's been a while since I have not done any Android since last May. All right. So it's been a few months, as you can tell. but I've got it's a 6 lesson thing in here. There's like 2 of them with Java, and then there's or I think 3 with Java. Then there's 6 lessons with Android. And I watched the first 2 this morning. It's basically, that's what we're going to do next week. All right, so if you do want a little leg up, it's back in 2017, so the screens are going to look a little bit different, but what we're going to do is pretty much going to be the same. And if you're like, I don't care, that's fine. Like I said, you're not hurting my feelings. I'm just telling you that in case you wanted to take a look at it. All right. So it looks like mine is finished, so I'm just going to click finish. And this is what it looks like. So I'll wait, give you guys a couple minutes to hopefully catch up. And I'm going to pause this for right now. Stuff to you, so I'm just going to start back up. So again, this is our text, Android Developers Fundamentals course. It has about a dozen or so lessons in it. I don't remember. You'll see it in a minute. So today, and as much as time as we need to on Tuesday, we'll go through the first lesson. It's about 65 pages. When we get done, after we get done, go on to the next lesson. We're going to do 2 and 3 together. 3 is very short. All right. So just so you're aware of that. I'm not going to run through these. You can take a look at them when you get some time if you're interested. So now it says here, the course contains this. Okay. That's what we have right here. The concept reference. That's what you're looking at. Now it says slide decks. I've never seen those. I don't know if they're any good or not. Videos of lectures. I've never seen those. But when I went here for this practical workbook and I clicked on this, it came up and asked me to sign up for a Git book. I didn't do it yet. So I will do that. If you want to do it, fine. And if you don't, that's also fine. I don't know what's in there, so I can't say any more about that book. All right. The idea is you can take this, and if you want to, there actually is a certification for Android, and they claim that if you cover everything that's in here, you can sit for the certification. All right, so I'm just going to jump into Chapter 1. I don't want to read to you. Android is an operating system. It is the operating system for Android devices. All right, it's created by Google. Now, one thing that they'll even say in here, I may have passed it already, I don't know. But Google today does recommend that you use Kotlin rather than Java. But for whatever reason, Paul or Mr. Smith still wants to use Java, which is okay with me. I have no problem with either one. But probably towards the end of the semester, we may do a project in Kotlin just so you get exposed to it. Okay? All right. It is the largest platform. There are more Android apps out there than there are iOS apps. All right, you may read that that's not the case, but as far as I know, that is the case. Now, when we start to do this, you're going to see this already today. When you go in and you create your interface, it's not exactly identical to the way you've done it in C#, but there'll be some similarities. You can click on a toolbar option, drag it over, just the same way you've been doing it. But you can go in, and then you'll see on the side here, there'll be a thing that's similar to what we had for the properties window. Okay, but just so you know, you don't have to use that. And I'm going to show you there's 2 ways that you can do this. The other way is to bring it up in what's called XML view. There are people that I know that build their entire interface and never have the interface showing until it's done. They do everything using the XML. And there's other people who do it the other way. I'm probably more a hybrid. All right, sometimes I like to actually have the interface up in front of me so I can see what I'm doing. Not everybody feels that way. Now, they give you this picture here, and I don't expect it to totally make sense. But the higher you get up in the picture, so up the systems apps, that's you. The lower you get, that's the computer. So you're virtually never going to do anything that I know of at the Linux kernel level, probably not even at the hardware abstract level. Unless you were programming, doing network type of programming, I couldn't see a reason for doing that. All right. Now you'll notice when you look at the libraries, you'll notice that a lot of the native libraries are built in C and C++. Why? They are faster than Java is. All right. And as you can see, that's where the Android runtime is. This is, the picture, the stuff that's on here, you don't have to memorize any of this. You don't have to even know what it means. All right. But we will be using the API framework. That's basically the API is, I showed the Java API to you the other day. All right. And virtually all that stuff is going to be available to you in here as well. All right. So if you want more than I just gave you, or you didn't like what I just gave you, you can take a look, because they'll give you a picture like this, then they'll explain what it is. All right. Now, it says many distribution options. What I'm hoping, and I've got to do this next week, is whatever we don't finish today, we'll finish up on Tuesday. And then we will immediately go in and we'll make a few versions of the BMI app. So it'll be simple because it's stuff you've already done. But then we'll take our last one and I'll let you pick your own image for it, etc. And hopefully, because I'll have to go back, I haven't done that for a while, but we'll actually load it to the Google Play Store. Now, if you want to do that, it's going to cost you $25. It's a one-time fee, $25. All right. Again, if that's a hardship for you, don't do it. But I am expecting by the end of the semester, when you do your final project, that will be uploaded to the App Store. All right. All right. I don't know why this just does not work well on here. Now, where it says Android versions, I'm going to buzz through this because notice what it is. Now, Android, if you have never heard this, all the versions are named after what they call sweet treats. There's been nougat, jelly bean, ice cream sandwich, etc. All right, so there's been a bunch of them in the past. The other thing I should mention to you is what we're using right now. This has actually been updated, this PDF. When we used it last year, I think it was 2016, and now it's 2018. But it's still 2018. So it's about 2.5 years old. So some of the stuff could end up looking different when we bring it up. That's no big thing. The functionality should all be the same. All right. Now, in here they talk about the challenges of Android development. I'm going to tell you right now what the biggest challenge of Android development is. All right. It's working with Android machines and its battery more than anything else. That's what the biggest challenge is. Because if you create an app that's a real drain on the battery, you're going to make it very hard for people to use. All right. I mean, and some games are like that. That, you know, if you get a phone call or something while you're playing a game, you basically got to turn it off. Because if you don't, it's just going to suck the life out of your battery. All right. So they go through all this stuff, building for a multi-screen world. The idea is, you know, I know that my daughter recently bought a new refrigerator and it's Android compatible. All right. So, you know, a lot of appliances like that are, but in here, we're going to be using, like I said, next week or the following week, we're going to bring the tablets in, and I'll bring them in every day after that. All right. You're welcome to hook them up. You might just want to use the emulator until you've got something that's basically working. All right. It's not hard to do. It's been a while since I've done it, but I mean, a couple of years ago, I taught a class in Android App Inventor, which is like Android, except it's literally drag and drop. Everything that's in there is drag and drop. And I did it because it was a class I taught during the summer to kids. And I had kids that literally were copying stuff to their phones, their Android phones, and they were running it from their phones. So it's not like this stuff is hard to do. All right. Maximizing app performance, some of that I just talked about, okay? Now, this stuff that's in here, it's not going to concern us, but if you end up putting your app out on the Play Store and you think, you know what, this is pretty doggone good and people might actually download it, you might want to take a look at, as it says there, tools like Proguard, because what they will do is they will basically look through your code, and if there's something that's not needed or whatever, they'll advise you of it. You can get rid of it. I mean, it's a big problem when, you know, and you've probably heard your own horror stories about things that have happened in the past with not with Android so much, but just security breaches and possible security problems. All right. Now, with this remaining compatible with older versions, unless it's changed, one of the things you're going to see, because pretty soon we're going to bring it up and we're just going to look at our first project. It'll be a hello world. There'll be nothing on it. It's already done. We'll just have to run it. We'll just set up an emulator and then we'll run the project. But the point is, when you set up the project, at least in the past, there was a little checkbox there. And it asked if you wanted to remain compatible with older versions. It's a two-edged sword. what you have to do when you use Android is you have to say how many versions back you're going. So how many versions back will you support? All right. And the good news about that is, let's say you go back to the very beginning. Nobody's using those versions anymore, but let's say you do. Then it's compatible with 100% of Android phones. That's the good news. The bad news is there might be something that's fairly recent that you can't use on those old phones. So even though it's compatible, it may not run on a real old phone. All right, or an older, I should say an old operating system. Now, I did say this the other day, but you may or may not have heard me say this. Where is it? Developer.android.com, forgetting about Studio here. It's going to look the same anyway. Okay, there it is. That is the site for everything Android. All right. In fact, you don't have to do this. I thought it would have been android.com, but evidently somebody already bought that. And there is some stuff out there, but it's not. This is where you go when you want stuff. There's a good search feature in here. So for instance, about halfway into the semester, maybe a little more, we'll be working with a recycler view. So if I come in here to the and type in recycler view, and I hit enter, all right, you can see what it shows me. Okay, and it's pretty much going to have what you want in here. If you got a question on something, and again, if you Google it, chances are one of the first hits that's going to come up is going to push you right back here. All right. These learn more things, they put them at the end of every section. So if you want more of the story of Android than I gave you, you can look at that. This intro stuff, the stuff's good, but it's not what I call real exciting reading. All right, but if you're looking for something to do, or you want to find out more about it, fine. If you don't, that's also fine. All right, so this is it, section 1.1, as it says here, creating your first Android app. All right, so look what they go through, because every time you can click on, this is all clickable, but these are all the little mini sections in section 1.1. So they go through the development process, and basically what they're going to say, you can see it right here, is you come up with some kind of an idea, you go through it, etc. This is pretty much the same in any language. You come up with an idea, you write some requirements, you write a prototype, you develop it, you test it, and in here you publish it. Well, that's not any big thing. But in here, these are the things that we're going to look at. We're going to look at your XML file. We're going to look at your .java file. We're going to look at your manifest file. And it's not that you have to memorize any of this stuff, but there'll be times when you'll have to know what file to go to when you want to do something. That's all. All right. Again, I'm not going to read that. You can go ahead and read it if you're interested in it. So, all right. So I'm going to show you this. Has yours finished? Is it still? No? Okay. Well, what I'm going to do, though, is this. I just want you to see this, and you can catch up, Keegan, because we're not going to write any code. We're not going to do anything. But it should eventually come up and look like this. All right? And create new project. Now, when it comes up and you see this, this is what I want to show you. All right? I'm going to even widen this out. I don't think I really, yeah, I can. Okay. All right. Virtually, not maybe 100%, but virtually all of the time in here, we're going to just choose empty activity. Just so you know, you just start with nothing. So I'm going to click on empty activity, and it is the default. So I'm going to click next. All right. Now, notice what it is. It says the minimum SDK, and that's the minimum software development kit that this will support, is API 16. And notice it says that it's now compatible with 99.8% of devices. Well, what if I say, you know what, I don't want to go back that far. I can go here and notice, for instance, I can jump all the way up to 25. You see that? And when I do, notice now it's only 66.2% of devices. That's not that good. You want to typically shoot for 90% or above. So I'm going to go to 7.1 here. That's 73. All right, I'm going to go back, let's say to 19 KitKat. That's 98.1. All right, and before KitKat, this is 94.1. That's KitKat Where. I would say, it's not going to hurt anything to go back all the way to Jelly Bean. Most of the stuff that we do in here, most of the stuff will be backward compatible without there being any kind of problem. When you are working on your projects, you might go nuts and decide, I'm going to make this game. I went out there and there's all this new animation stuff and I want to use that, etc. And if you want to do that, that's fine, but then you're probably going to have to change your minimum SDK. Okay? All right. Now you'll notice when you create this, this is an important thing where it says their name. All right. Unless I'm mistaken, and I do not believe I am, that name that's right there, although it is changeable, that is the name that if you go and you decide, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and I'm going to publish this particular app. That's the name it's going to have, is whatever name you put in there. All right. For now, we're not going to publish this, so I'm going to leave it at my application. All right. Now, I'm going to recommend, this is the one that I used. My email is jpscott@rankin.edu. So I always use reverse domain notation, edu.rankin.jpscott. I'm going to recommend you do yours like that. You can either use your inside, or you can even do edu.rankin.ashelton, edu.rankin.kyoung. But the reason that you do this is, let's say that we did the BMI one, all right, and we decide we want to publish it. I think you would both agree there probably, if you look out there, there's going to be at least one BMI program already out there. There might be hundreds. So typically the reason that you come up with a unique package name is so that if you're working with other people, anything you create won't conflict with them if you've got something with the same name. And you never have to worry about conflicting with anybody else. There could be other K. Youngs or A. Sheltons out there, probably not with a Rankin in there. All right. But what this will do is it will automatically now, remember when we were working with IntelliJ, how we had to create the package? It's automatically going to create this package statement now at the beginning of your, or at the top of your file. All right. The location. All right. I would recommend, again, you do what you want to do, but I would recommend for the location here, you just go to your desktop. All right. Now, a real important thing, I'm going to click OK. Do not leave it like this, because then what it's going to do is on your desktop, it's going to make an application called desktop. All right. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to type in, I don't know, demo, because that's all this is it's just a little demo program that we're doing. So DEMO. Now, notice the language. You'll want to change yours from Kotlin to Java. All right. I'm actually taking an online class in Kotlin. So that was mine is set to Kotlin. Yours might be set to Java now. It might not be. I already mentioned the minimum SDK. If you click here then with this use legacy supported libraries, notice it says using legacy supported Android libraries will prevent you from using the latest Play service and Jetpack libraries. So if you know you're going to be using something that's new, latest and greatest, then you won't want to check that. I don't think it'll hurt for what we're doing at all to check it. Okay? All right. Take it yours is still working. I don't know if you're able to do all this or not. So I'm just going to click Finish. All right. Now, one thing it did not ask me. Oh, that was interesting. Okay, it's coming in here and it's creating a bunch of stuff for me. Okay. I don't like the way they changed this. They changed it so they've got this tab over here, this what's new. I hate it when places do that. I'm sure there's a way to get rid of it, and I'm going to have to find out what it is. Right there, I just minimized it, but I don't like it there anyway. Notice it's still loading right here. You can hold down on your control key and use your mouse's flywheel. No, you can't do that anymore. Okay. Then, file. There is a preferences in here. I just got to remember where it is. Editor, colors, and fonts, font. So, editor, or edit. Of course, there is no editor and it doesn't show it there. this has changed from the way I looked at it when I looked at it before. So let's see. Well, I don't want to waste, maybe it's under settings here. Settings, system settings, no. Editor. Font. Okay, that wasn't too bad. You see that? I went to File, Settings. Under Settings, I went to Editor, and under Editor, I went to Font. All right, so it says here 13. I'm going to try to double it and see if it works. There. Okay, well, that wasn't too hard. All right. Still loading? Or can you tell, is it almost finished?
It's just been sitting in the same spot for a minute.
Okay, all right. All right, so this is the way it used to look, and it doesn't anymore, just so you know. So this is one time when it's changed, but I want to explain the stuff that's on here. If this ever comes up looking like this, I don't think it will based on what we just had, you'll always just want to choose phone and tablet. If you were making something, you know, for you got a watch or whatever, or your TV, you could choose one of these, but we should have no reason to ever do that. All right. Now they explain what the different stuff that's in here is. By default, this is what, like I said, this is what used to come up. And you'll notice there's two files here. One says activity name and one says layout name. The activity name is your Java file. All right, that's where you put your Java code in. So typically, like if we call this one main activity, then notice that the layout file has the same name except it reverses the words and it puts an underscore between them. So again, if I called my main activity tax rate, then my layout file would be rate underscore tax. That makes sense? Okay. Okay, I don't want to go on any further with this until you can catch up. All right, and I'm hoping that you can, that it's not going to sit there. So we'll give it 5 minutes or so. Otherwise, I will go on. But the thing is, I want to start being able to show you what's on the screen here. And it's much better if you're able to actually be on the screen and play around with it a little bit. So if you are following along, I'm on page 19, it looks like, of the PDF. Now I'm taping again, so I'm going to start up. I'm just restarting up Android Studio. I would recommend, I'm going to pin that to my taskbar. There it is. They did change the icon. Well, I don't want that. I want a new project. So close project. All right, create new project. All right, empty activity. Next. Yeah, that's the way. Okay, I guess that is. This is where yours is now. All right, I guess that's where it was. All right, so like I said, you can keep that name. That's totally fine. I would recommend, notice it remembered the edu.rankin on mine from last time, but I'm going to add JP Scott dot my application, and it's going to put it on the desktop, my application. Make sure your language is set to Java. All right. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter if you use these legacy Android supported libraries. I don't think it's going to matter one way or the other. So I'm just leave it off for now. Okay, I'm now supporting 99.8% of devices. I click finish, and you saw this before. It's going to do this stuff. All right, and it's still building over here, so I'll give it time. I would recommend, because this gets to be a real pain in the butt quickly, if this does come up, just click don't show me again, but it's your call. I've had students who've done that, and they're like, geez, you know, I'm getting like 8 tips. Yeah. All right. It's still, as it says, it's still loading into here. Okay. This is our Java file. Okay, I'm going to go over that in a minute, but this is our Java file. Right now, where it says import Android X.app compat, etc., what that's doing is it's basically saying do the best you can to make sure that if somebody is using an older version, you're compatible with it. It's a compatibility thing. All right. The package, yours will be different than mine, but your package should be set up based on how you set up that original page when you got in. Okay. It automatically imports one file for you, much like we just saw in IntelliJ. If you go and add something and it needs an import, it'll prompt you for it basically, or you can manually put it in. All right. The onCreate that you see right here, notice what it says. Set content view. It is the equivalent of main. It's not main, but it's the equivalent of main. Okay, it's kind of the place where your program starts running, for lack of better words. All right. Now I want to take a couple minutes and go over the stuff that's here. Don't worry about memorizing this stuff. I mean, maybe you're that good that you can. I sure am not. And you'll notice, you see right here, or look on yours, it says Android. If you click the down arrow, there's other things that you can choose. You'll probably either choose Android or you'll choose Project, the top one or the bottom one. There's probably no other ones in here you'll ever choose. All right, so I'm just going to leave it where it is. And you'll notice in here that we've got app, and this is all the stuff that's in it. So I want to go through this stuff. Again, you won't remember it, but at least you've seen it. The first one here is manifest. And notice, because this will be the first time you're seeing an XML file, this is Android manifest XML. This is an XML file right here. You can open it up. It's not going to hurt anything. You can write to this. You can remove stuff from it. It's not going to hurt anything. All right. Now, there's a few things in here, such as the package name. You don't really want to monkey with that because that's set for you automatically. This right here, where anytime it says XMLNS, and again, just telling you just for completeness sake, that stands for Extensible Markup Language Namespace. So what it means is when it has a problem figuring out what anything is, it's going to go out to this URL to find it. Now, what's weird about a namespace is it's totally legal for you to put a namespace in that doesn't exist. All right? Because some people do that. Because it's like if you have none of your own documentation, you can add your own namespace and you can make up a name. All right? We're just going to leave it. Everything that you might want to touch is in between these application tags. All right. Now, not now, but later, what we'll do is we will write an app where we'll want to go out to the internet and get information. Okay. And what you have to do then is you have to go into this file, and I'm going to use these words, but they're not really the right ones. You kind of have to ask the app for permission to go use the internet. So there'll be something that we'll add in there for that. Okay. Have you ever seen the icon for Android, the little Android icon, the little green thing? That's this. That's IC Launcher. What we will do, and I'll show you how to do that, not right now, but fairly soon, is we'll go in there and we'll talk about how you can change that. So if you don't like that icon, all right, you don't have to have it. You can put your own in there. In fact, we'll do that when we get to the BMI program. Well, because if you probably guess, but when we get to that point, let's see, where am I? Come on, there you are. We'll go out, for example, to Google Images, and I'm going to type in here Bmi Calculator. All right, and you might pick one of these. Maybe I'll pick this one, for example. All right, and so when it comes up, what's going to happen is on your phone or on your device, instead of just showing the little, what's bad is if you make a bunch of these and you copy them over your phone, then every single one of them has got the little Android logo on it. And you have to look through it, and you have to read the text to see which one is the one you want. If you do this, it's going to have this picture on it. It doesn't have to be this one. You can pick up any, choose any one you want. All right. So as we're making our way through here then, it's got some other stuff. A lot of this I never changed, so I never really looked at what it means. Here is the theme that you're going to use. What's the theme? It's the color, it's the fonts, it's basically how you set your system up. There's different themes you can load. You can create your own theme. So if you wanted every screen to be a certain color, etc., and you can do it, you can do that. All right. This right here basically says you don't want to play with this one either. That's your starting point. Now, if it turns out that you've got other files, and you're going to learn this really quick, because after we get done with the BMI program, we're going to make a second screen for it, where if you click for totals, it'll show you how many overweight people you have, how many underweight people you have, etc., that kind of thing, just so we can use what's called an intent, where you can switch from one screen to the other. Then you might see this change. Okay, but again, this is the manifest file. The only way that I know of that it's available for you is in XML format, just so you know that. All right. Then as we keep going in here, so I'm just going to shut this. You don't need to do anything else with it. So I'm going to shut this. And then in here, you'll notice I've got, this should look familiar to you. It says edu rank, and so it's the name of the package, and underneath that's the main activity. So if you accidentally close this and you want it open again, you just double click on it. That's it. Now you might have noticed if you look up on the screen here, we've also got this file. That's that activity main. That is, when you look in here, and I'm going to have you both do it if you don't mind, go into res. So click your res folder and then click your layout folder. And you see what file is in there? That's this file. And it's really kind of weird. This, if I decide I want to put stuff on the screen, I put it in here, right there. But it shows it to me over here. You can't actually drag stuff in here. And if I come through here, notice I've got a hello world. If I was to click on that and remove it, it would be removed from here automatically. All right. But the big thing that I want to show you on here is, and where do we change it? I don't remember. So I'm going to find out right now. Okay. Let's see. They used to have two buttons down here, right there. And it would say XML and it would say text. And that's how you could go back and forth. But I believe if you right mouse click on here, you can see on the bottom it says go to XML. All I did was I right mouse clicked on an empty spot here and I went go to XML. That's this file in XML. Do you understand what I'm saying? And what we're going to do when we create our first app is I'm going to have you go in. I'm going to have you go in and we're going to use the GUI screen, but then we're going to go into the XML screen and we'll set some of the attributes just so you get a chance to do both of them. That's all. All right. And going back again, once you've done that and you right mouse click, well, it's not there. So you click up here where it says code. See that? And then you go to design. There's also a split where you can have them both. See that? Some people like that. I'm not one of those people. But if you are, then go for it. There's no problem. All right, so there's design. I guess that you can go to it from up here too. Code, design, and split. All right. All right. So that's what's in there. That's where your layout is. Now, if you look under drawable, that's right up above that, you open that up. This is where we're going to end up. It's got in here launcher background. All right. We're not going to probably do real much in here. We'll probably more often, sometimes you put your images in drawable. Sometimes you put them in mipmap. And you don't have to worry about that right now, because when we get to that point, I'll tell you where to put them. All right. The other thing that's in here that's big, notice it says values. These files are all important. So I'd like you, if you would please, I'd like you to open up the values folder. There's 3 files that are in there. The first is colors. These are the colors that it sets your project to by default. So when I run this, you're going to see this in a couple minutes because we're going to run it. Right now, yours isn't going to do anything, neither is mine, because we don't have an emulator yet, but we'll set up an emulator next, and we'll take a break. But these are the colors. Notice that they're all set up. They're not the words. They're all set up as hex values. All right, and you can add more in here. You can change this. So if you don't like these colors, you can get rid of all of them and put your own in there if you want to. All right, so that's what it's for. And that's how you can set up different things with colors. It's recommended that you use this file rather than, let's say that I set up a text box and I decide I want the background for that text box to be this purple. All right. Then what I'd want to do is I'd want to set it to @color with purple 200. I wouldn't want to manually go in there and set it. And if you say, I don't know what you mean, we're going to do this. All right. I'm going to close this because I don't need that one anymore. The strings, I don't know if you've ever heard of this term before, but the term is called localization, and it's a weird name for a term because localization means are you going to use your basically internationally. So if I were going to create this BMI program, and I thought this is going to be the best BMI program ever, everybody's going to want it, as an example. Then what I can do is in my strings, I can have other strings files in here. And if I end one, for example, I think it's strings-esp.xml, that's Spanish, España. All right, there's FRE, I think it is, for French. So you can go and add more things. Now, unless you're going to do something with languages, we won't have to talk about that. But the point is, even when you put a button on the screen, right? Even when you put a button on the screen. So let's pretend for a second that we put a button on the screen that we had two of them, one called calculate, one called clear. With me? Then what we're going to do is something like this. You're going to come in here and say string name equal calculate, calculate, and that's how you're going to do it. And then when you specify what you want on that button, rather than for the text, rather than typing in calculate, you're going to refer to this. And again, I'm going to show you how to do it. It's not difficult. Once you've done it a time or two, there's no problem with it. Finally, there's themes. This one we're not going to use very much, but you will use it. I would like you to use it when you are working on your final project, because you can go in there and set up your own theme then. This is the default stuff. All right, default meaning unless told otherwise. So unless you go in and change it, this is what a lot of your settings are going to be set to. All right, so we went over themes, we went over strings, and even at strings, it doesn't matter if I put that in there and don't use it, it's not going to hurt anything. All right, you occasionally add stuff to layout, you occasionally add stuff to drawable. We'll worry about that when we get to that point. All right, I'm going to close my res. Now, when you look in here, notice we've got edu.rankin JP Scott application, and this is the one that's got my activity after it. And you'll notice this one doesn't have it, and this one doesn't have it. You see that? For lack of better words, don't ever monkey with those two files. They're system files. All right? The only one you want to monkey with is the one that got created for you with the main activity, and we can add other classes and stuff to that. Now, for a long time, we're not going to touch this. What happens is when you compile your file in Android, it does a lot of building. It goes in and it brings in system files, your files, whatever it needs. Okay, we will get to a certain point in here. I put it before up on the screen, recycler view. We will get to a certain point where we'll use a recycler view. Well, by default, the recycler view doesn't exist in Android, so you've got to basically add it, for lack of better words. And the only one in here I think will ever change, to my knowledge. If you open this up, you'll notice there's two build Gradles. Don't ever touch the first one. It'll be the second one. This has got, you'll notice, this has got what version I'm building for, what my minimum version is, etc. So you can change stuff in here. But what we will do at that time is we'll add another one of these implementation things, and we'll tell it to bring in the recycler view. Because if you don't, it doesn't know that the recycler view exists. All right, and once you do that then, and you make a change in here, I'm not going to, but over here, some stuff will come up, and it used to always say, you know, your Gradle file is out of sync now, and there was a nice link for that. To my knowledge, they've removed that link, but if you come over here and you go over 1, 2, 3, 4, is it 5 or 6? 5, 4. There, sync project with Gradle files. Can you see that? That's one way you can sync. All right. And if you're saying, I'm not going to remember any of this, you don't have to. It's not going to hurt anything. Let's do one more thing and then we'll take a break. And that is when you want to run your program. Right now, if I tried to run it, I'm just going to click right here to run it. And it's going to come up and it says you can configure, yeah. But it's going to come up. It does show me this. I'm surprised unless it gave me some kind of an emulator by default. I don't know. but I haven't done anything just like you haven't done anything in here. So typically, there won't be anything in here. You'll have to go in and you'll have to build an emulator. So let's quickly talk about how to do that. I'm just going to, well, let's see if it comes up first. Remember I had that little thing that said hello world on it? Remember that? That's what should come up on here if indeed this works. Just right here, it'll say hello world, and that's all there'll be. It goes through all this stuff. This literally used to take almost a half an hour with what we're doing right now. There it is. There's your hello world. So it must have some kind of a default emulator. I'd like you both to do this right now just to see if it's there. So go ahead and click on your, over there where you've got the greater than, that green button. Click on it and tell me if yours comes up like this. Okay, but you'll be able to do that once you get it. All right. So again, you notice the purple here with the white writing and the blue that's back here? Those were those colors in those colors files and the themes that I showed you. So again, you can change that stuff if you don't like it. To me, other than your project that you do yourselves, if you learn the language, anybody can come in and start showing you colors and fonts and stuff. But, do you understand the language and how it works? That to me is much, much, much more important. All right. So when you're done, it actually opened this down here. You see this? I don't know if you can see where I've got the mouse going, but you just right mouse click on it, you choose close window, and the emulator will go away. All right. Plus, now where is it? It's one of these, so give me a second. Debug. Attach debugger. App, structure, anything, hide this. There you go. Third one from the end here. Okay, the number one here, that's a search. Then next to the search is the SDK manager. Then next to that is what's called the AVD manager. AVD is an acronym that stands for Android Virtual Device. This is literally how hard it is, and I'm being sarcastic, to set one of these up. Okay, I'm going to click on the device manager right there. Okay, it brings it up. It gave me this Pixel one by default. Did you get one? Did yours come up and run, or is it still working? Or
No, it's still working.
Okay, so I'm going to come up here, though. I'm going to do this. Now, yours will come up like this. You may have something here, you may not. Let's say we had nothing. I could remove this, but I'm just going to leave it. So you click down here where it says Create Virtual Devices, and it gives you a list. So let's say one thing they don't have, and it bugs me because it's the kind of phone I have. Oh, they did put a Galaxy in here. They never had a Galaxy. All right, so I'm going to add this Galaxy Nexus right there. See that? I click Next, and it says what's your target, and it's got all this stuff you can download if you want to. I'm just going to leave it right where it is. I'm going to click Next. It comes in here, and it says, what do you want to do? What do you want to call it? So I'm just going to call mine, instead of API 30, I'm just going to call mine Galaxy Nexus. Okay, you can call it whatever you want. And the startup orientation, I'm going to keep it at portrait. I'll show you how you set it to landscape in just a bit. I click Finish. That was it. That's all there is. So notice now, the reason I'm telling you that is I don't know now if I run this, if it's going to run it or if it's going to come up. Sometimes it'll come up and it'll actually show me both of them, and it'll ask me which one I want to use. That one didn't, so I'm going to stop this run real quick, and the run is stopped. I'm going to go back again one more time to this manager, and I'm going to right mouse click on it, and notice here it says duplicate, and it's got a bunch of other stuff. The thing that may matter to you in here, may matter, is sometimes what happens is, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I've gone out and read it online, and I've never been given a great explanation. But sometimes, even though your emulator isn't running anymore, as far as Android is concerned, it is still running. And it keeps you from doing anything. And if that happens, you'll probably choose cold boot now, which will tell it to basically restart it. Okay? Plus, it is possible, I've had it happen 2 or 3 times to students in teaching this about 10 years, is for some reason it'll come up and it'll say it doesn't have enough room to run the program. There's not enough memory. And you might have to choose wipe data. You shouldn't have to choose anything else. Okay, so let's see. So I showed you that, so you can see, like I said, how easy that is to do that. All right. So you've run it, you've seen, well, you haven't, but you've run it, or you're getting there to at least see what it looks like, right? All right. What I want to do is I want to take a break now. When we come back, I want to look at that picture that's on page 19 and start going over that stuff in quite a bit of detail. It's 1:20. Let's take a healthy break, and let's come back at 1:35. All right?